reacting to this video right here. It's Mr. Nightmare video.
Mark was a college student living in Indiana. His house was quiet and sat next to some woods. During the day, everything felt normal, but at night, the woods made the place feel strange. Behind his house, under the patio, there was a hot tub. That's where everything happened. It was Saturday night, March 29th, around 12:30 a.m. Spring break was ending and school was starting again soon. Mark had his three close friends over, Kyle, Keenan, and Derek. They were spending one last night hanging out. They were in the garage playing pool, blasting music, and drinking. Everyone was laughing and having fun.
Calm shit.
It felt like a good night. After a while, Kyle said they should go in the hot tub. It was cold outside, so the warm water sounded even better. Everyone agreed.
Could you get sick from
that? They got changed into swim trunks, grabbed their drinks, and went into the hot tub. The warm water felt good as they talked, made jokes, and didn't pay attention to the time. Then they heard something. It was the sound of sticks breaking, like footsteps coming from the woods. It didn't sound like an animal. It sounded like a person.
You know how vulnerable you are? Just in that hot tub, half
around.
naked? Nah,
Keenan tried to calm everyone down and said it was probably nothing. The others laughed, but it was more to stop feeling nervous. They turned the music up louder and tried to keep talking. About 10 minutes later, a man walked out of the woods. He stepped into the light from the patio. He was wearing a long black coat, white sweatpants, and a gaming headset. His eyes were wide, and his face didn't show any feeling. Everyone jumped. They yelled at him and asked who he was and what he was doing. The man raised his hands and said his name was Seth. He said he was 33 years old.
Okay, Seth.
Them laughing.
Fuck is you doing here?
Join. The guys just looked at each other, confused. Mark told him to leave, but he didn't listen. Instead, Seth took off his coat, then his shoes, and then his pants. He was now in only his underwear. Then he got into the hot tub.
Nah. Bro, I ain't gonna front. Y'all pussy, bro. Like, y'all pussy. Y'all see the man is unarmed. What, y'all think he hiding a fucking knife or Glock inside of his damn undies, bro? What the fuck? Yo, kick him the fuck out, bro.
Mark pulled out his phone and started recording. Not for fun, but because the whole thing felt unreal. This was the footage he captured.
Nah, y'all pussy, bro.
They started asking Seth questions, like where he came from and if he knew anyone there.
They're probably just thinking like
saying he heard them laughing and wanted to hang out. Then he said something really disturbing. He said he had molested a child.
Now, if the story don't be like, we began to get up and beat the ever-living shit out of him.
That changed everything, obviously. The guys jumped out of the hot tub and started yelling at him to leave. They pulled him out of the water.
Thank you.
Seth didn't try to stop them. He just stood there, dripping wet and staring. Then he slowly walked back into the woods without saying anything. The group ran inside and locked all the doors. Some of them laughed nervously, trying to shake it off, but Mark and Kyle didn't feel okay. They felt like it wasn't over. About 15 minutes passed. Kyle said they should go back out to lock the hot tub. Mark said okay. So they got flashlights and stepped outside. That's when Mark saw something next to the hot tub. It was a phone. He picked it up and saw the screen light up. Whatever was on the lock screen made him drop the phone. He didn't say what it was, but it scared him.
The fuck?
He said he thought Seth would come back, so they ran inside and told the others. Everyone tried to stay calm. Then they heard a tapping sound on the window. Mark already knew who it was. He opened the curtain, and wouldn't you know it, Seth was standing right there. His face was pale, his eyes were wide open, and he had a creepy smile. He didn't say anything, he didn't move, he just stared. Mark yelled for Kyle. Kyle ran in and called the police. Mark grabbed a bat and went to the front door. He yelled for Seth to leave and take his phone. Seth didn't answer. Instead, he slowly walked around the side of the house. Mark followed a little bit and looked through the patio window. Seth was standing there again, staring inside. Mark told him the cops were coming and that he needed to leave, but Seth didn't move. He just slowly raised his hand and waved once. Then he turned and walked back into the woods. The police arrived a few minutes later. The guys told them everything. The officers searched the woods and found Seth standing alone, just
I would say follow him,
they
but
arrested him for trespassing, and everyone
that's
thought
like
it was over.
that's like straight guerrilla
Mark
warfare right
didn't feel
there.
that.
You don't know what you're walking
A
into.
few days later, he saw a post on Snapchat from a girl who lived nearby. It was a video. It showed another man, not Seth, trying to break into her house late at night. That's what bothered Mark the most. It meant Seth might not be the only one out there. There could be more. They could be connected, and they might not be done. A few years
So I ain't gonna lie. Sorry, I wanted to chew my food first. So here's the thing about that story. It's creepy, but like, yo, gang, like, y'all are grown men, bro. Like, you could consider. Here's the thing, right? When he initially like arrived and he got into the hot tub, they probably just wanted to troll him. Honestly, that's why they was probably asking like, "Oh, so where are you from?" and shit like that. And then he talking about he did that, and it was like, nah, you gotta go, buddy, you gotta go, right? It's an appropriate response to just be like, nah, you gotta go, bro. Like, personally, I would have threatened him, like, yo, if you don't go right now, we're dead ass gonna beat the shit out of you. Like, I'm gonna keep it a whole stack. Like, there's literally a free, like, anger output right there. The fuck is he gonna do? What the fuck is he gonna do? He's unarmed, half naked. The fuck? Like, that's free eats right there, bro. So, like, that was fair, I guess. But, when he had came, also I want to know what was on that fucking phone screen. Like, what was on that phone screen, bro? Nobody fucking mentioned that shit. Like, you can't just ask the motherfucker. As for like him coming back, excuse me, as for like him coming back and shit, they probably didn't want to follow him into the woods because it's dark. They don't know what the fuck they walking into. So that's fair. That's fair. Honestly, it just seems like a very creepy situation, honestly. So
years ago, 3 high school friends named Beck, Matthew, and Tyler decided to explore a sewer tunnel in their neighborhood. It was winter and very cold outside.
why?
The tunnel was at the edge of their neighborhood, under a small creek next to some office buildings. These buildings were empty and dark at night. The boys had seen the tunnel before, but never went inside of it.
How
It
bored do you
always
gotta be,
looked
bro?
creepy, and they joked about it, but deep down they were curious. That night, they finally decided to go in. They brought
That night, now you bugging, bro.
sleds with them, thinking it would help if someone asked what they were doing. They knew they weren't allowed to be there, but they wanted to do something exciting. Just as they pulled into the parking lot, a police car showed up. A police officer got out and asked what they were doing there. Someone had apparently seen them on the security camera. Tyler quickly said that they were just going sledding. The officer looked at them for a moment, then told them to leave. So they left, but only for a little while. After driving around for about 30 minutes, they came back. This time, they parked farther away, behind a building where no one could see them. They walked down a hill behind the buildings. They could see their breath in the cold, crisp air. They stood in front of the tunnel, noting how big, round, and completely
Like,
dark inside
it's
it was.
dark and cold, and you
turned
want to
on their
go inside of a
flashlights and
sewer
walked
tunnel,
in.
bro. Not in the daytime, the nighttime.
Dude, this is. Oh, look at the date, dude. 6/19/19. 19/19. Oh my god, this is. Dude, how did we even find this? Oh my god.
Inside the tunnel, the ground was dry. It was quiet, except for the sound of water dripping deeper in. The walls had graffiti all over them. Most of it looked old, but one thing caught their eye. A date was spray painted in large red numbers. 6/19/19. The paint looked newer than the rest, like it was done recently.
Ain't that 29? Oh, wait. Wait, no, ain't that 2019?
Didn't shine very far. Still, they kept walking and acting tough, but deep down they were nervous. The farther they went, the colder it got. The temperature was dropping fast. Even though they were underground, they could still see their breath. The walls looked like they had ice on them. Big icicles hung down from the ceiling. Some were huge and sharp.
Keep it slow, keep it slow. Oh, I see a light down there, see it? I think I saw movement, wait. What's that? Hello?
That light is moving.
Should we keep going?
Bro. Dude, and these icicles can like impale you, dude. Look how like.
Suddenly, a loud cracking sound echoing from further down the tunnel sends the group fleeing in fear. The sound resembled something heavy hitting stone. It wasn't any of them. The sound came from deeper inside the tunnel, too far to see. They tripped, slid, and bumped into each other as they rushed to get out. When they got outside, they were shaking and breathing hard. That's when Beck noticed his phone was missing. He had dropped it while they were running. Matthew told him to forget about it. They didn't want to go back in, but Beck didn't listen. He grabbed his flashlight and started walking toward the tunnel again. The others followed, but they didn't want to. The tunnel felt different this time. It felt even darker. The air felt heavy and strange, like something was wrong. Their flashlights didn't work as well, and the silence was even worse than before. It felt like something was watching them.
I feel like my pocket got like a little emptier over here. Like somewhere over here, right? Matthew, go over here this way.
No, dude, that's where we fucking heard the noise.
Shit, dude, do I have to go back there?
You're going first, bro.
I know, yeah, we're not leading the way. Yeah, somebody else lead the way, please.
No, it's your phone, bro.
At some point off camera, Beck found his phone.
Okay, W's.
Afterwards, the group continued deeper into the tunnel investigating. And that's when they heard a sound.
It must have hit like here.
What was it? Do you remember what?
A loud scream came from deeper in the tunnel. It didn't sound like a person. It didn't sound like an animal either. It was something else.
No, that was a
Low and
person.
high at the same time, like more than one voice screaming together. It echoed off the walls and felt like it was getting closer. They didn't wait. They turned and ran as fast as they could.
Now don't drop your phone this time.
No one talked, no one looked back. They just ran. They got to the car, jumped in, and drove away without stopping. The car ride back was mostly silent. The three friends thought it was over when they all got home. They were ready to move on with their lives. But late that night, Beck's doorbell rang twice. This was at some off hour in the night. When Beck's dad went to answer the door, nobody was there. This, of course, begs the question, were the boys followed home that night? Or was it simply a very unfortunately timed ding-dong ditch? That remains a mystery. The night left more questions than answers for the three friends. But they all heard the noises, and of course got it on video. Perhaps it was something they weren't meant to stumble upon.
So, my immediate thought is homeless person. Somebody's homeless and they're like in that tunnel. And what they saw at first was like the light from whatever light that they got, that was that person, right? And the second time, they was like, yo, these motherfuckers is back. Are you serious? Now I gotta scare them even more now. So they decided to yell and, you know, I made them go away. So that's my theory. But you can also say like, oh, you know, like it's too cold for a person to even be down there. It's too dark. Like, why would anyone just want to just be in darkness like that for no fucking reason? I don't know. But I'm still thinking it was a person. Like, just like some homeless person or something. I don't know.
April of 2022, a man named Connor took a construction job far from home as part of a 3-month accommodation program. The pay was decent, and he needed every dollar. He wasn't in the best place financially, and the bonus of working alongside his longtime friend Jim made the opportunity more appealing. They figured it would be a nice change of pace. Extra cash, time away from home, and some peace from the chaos of everyday life. The job itself wasn't bad. A few weeks in, Ryan had adjusted well to the routine, but the area they were stationed in was remote, deep in rural countryside. There were long, winding roads with barely any signs of life. It wasn't unusual to go miles without seeing a single home. Ryan had always loved the outdoors, and he saw this isolation as a chance to unplug. Most of his coworkers blew their weekends drinking, but Ryan had different plans. He wanted solitude. He wanted quiet. So when Friday rolled around, he packed his gear and prepared for a weekend of hiking and camping deep within the woods. A narrow trailhead just 5 minutes from his temporary accommodation became his entry point. Within 20 minutes, he was deep in the forest. The only sound was the wind and the crunch of his boots. He smoked a couple joints as he made his way further in, letting the stress melt away. The isolation was comforting for him. Well, at first. Around 7 p.m., the sun began to sink behind the treetops. Shadows stretched long across the trail. Ryan knew it was time to find a place to settle. That's when he noticed something unusual. There was a scent in the air, burning firewood, and a light layer of smoke drifted between the trees. At first, it seemed normal. Maybe another camper, maybe a local. But then,
that's what I thought
he caught something just barely in the corner of his vision. The faint orange glow of fire flickering through the trees. Curious,
campfire.
Ryan left the trail and headed towards the source. He wasn't scared. He trained in combat sports during his teens and stayed in good shape. Still, something about this felt off to him. As he moved closer, he began to see strange metallic glints. Shopping carts, dozens of them.
What the fuck?
They were tied to trees with rope hanging for the branches.
What the fuck?
Some mangled and suspended in bizarre positions, like a twisted jungle gym of rusted steel. It didn't look like a campsite. It looked like a ritual site, like something meant to be seen and feared. Ryan
fucking shopping carts?
Snapping photos. He had to prove this to his friends.
Ooh, shopping carts. Ooh.
Otherwise.
Yo, bro, I'm here, bro. The whatever loud pitched noise he got in the background just made my heart fucking drop. I'm here thinking my fire alarm is going off, bro.
Then, something even stranger caught his eye. Hung directly above the fire was a charred, old-fashioned duck ornament. Sitting in the duck's back was a scorched baby doll. The thing was melted, its limbs warped from heat.
Nah, this is creepy as
Ryan
shit.
took a
That's
photo
creepy
of that
as shit.
too, but the longer he stared, the more disturbed he felt. His chest began to tighten. The fire was roaring, clearly tended to recently. There were water bottles scattered around. Someone had been there, or currently was there, maybe still watching. He thought about turning around, thought about heading straight back to the trailhead, but something made him keep walking. He tried to convince himself it was nothing, just some weird loner, maybe drunk, probably harmless. Still, he checked over his shoulder more than once. 20 minutes passed, and he'd put real distance between himself and that eerie camp. But daylight was fading fast, and he needed firewood before it got too dark. He veered off the trail again, this time to gather supplies. He wasn't worried. He had emergency wood in his pack, but not enough to last the entire night. He needed more. After about an hour of preparation, Ryan had set up his tent and built a small fire. It was around 9 p.m. when he prepped a steak and potato meal in foil and nestled it in the glowing embers.
Nice.
He smoked another joint to dull the anxiety.
Nice.
For a while, everything seemed okay again. With his meal finished and the fire crackling, Ryan settled in for the night. He turned on a pre-downloaded playlist of true crime podcasts, listening to cold case files as the forest around him darkened. There was no signal out there. No
sounds like a vibe, bro. It's just like, you know,
and static-filled
whatever the fuck
counting unsolved murders
is about to happen.
At some point, he drifted off to sleep, but it didn't last. He woke up suddenly. The air inside his tent felt colder. The fire outside had dimmed. He checked his phone. 4 a.m. He didn't know what had woken him up until he heard it. Whistling. A
Nah, I'd be
slow,
I'd be
eerie
shitting
tune
my
carried
pants.
through the trees surrounding his
I'm
camp.
keeping it a stack with
He
y'all. I'd be
froze.
shitting my
His body
pants.
wouldn't move. It was like something inside him had shut down.
100%.
He lay motionless, listening as the sound crept closer. Then the whistling stopped. What followed was worse. Soft footsteps, fast, light, and quiet, circling his tent. He couldn't see them, but he could hear them crunching twigs
shit.
and shifting leaves. His heart pounded in his throat. Then,
Nah,
without thinking,
bro.
his body finally snapped into motion. He jumped up, threw on his boots, and burst out of the tent. What made it worse, what twisted the fear into something primal, was that the footsteps had come from the direction he had entered the trail. The way back to safety was now blocked. He had no choice but to run deeper into the forest. He sprinted as fast as he could, crashing through brush and low branches. But behind him, he could hear more footsteps, multiple, and they weren't in sync. The sounds overlapped, too fast and scattered to just be one person.
Nah.
There were two of them, maybe more. For 5 straight minutes, he ran until his lungs burned and his legs begged for rest. He found a dense cluster of trees and dove into the underbrush, burying himself in leaves and tangled roots.
How could you see, though?
He
The
barely
moonlight?
breathed. The footsteps faded, distant now, but he didn't dare come out.
But nah, your tent, though.
Still
Like, they
and
know where the
silent in
tent
dark.
is.
Eventually, he knew he had to move. He crawled through the forest with branches cutting into his arms and legs. Every step was slow and careful. When the trees finally began to thin, he broke into one final sprint. He recognized the trailhead, the way out, and he ran without stopping. No one followed him after that. The forest was quiet, but the damage was done. He got back to his accommodation and immediately reported the incident to the police. They took his statement and promised to investigate, but he never heard anything back. To this day, Ryan believes the people who chased him were the same ones who built that bizarre shrine of carts and dolls.
Fair thing
What they
to
were
assume.
doing
I'm
out
not
there
gonna
and
lie.
what they
That
wanted,
is some
he doesn't
sick
know.
shit over there.
It was more than just a creepy encounter. To him, it felt ritualistic, cult-like. He finished his contract and returned home, but the memory never left him.
I ain't gonna lie,
He
bro.
still
Probably
remembers the sound of
avoided some
footsteps,
crazy shit. I'm
whistling,
not gonna
and the
lie.
feeling of helplessness. If there's anything to learn from this story, it would be to trust your instincts. If you find something that doesn't feel right, you should leave. Ryan almost didn't, and he knows he might not have lived to tell the story if he had stayed.
Facts.
This video was me experimenting with a slightly different style. If any of you have personal scary experiences that include photos or videos and you'd like to submit them, email them to me and I'll try to make this style of video a new series. Also, if you haven't already, click the bell icon and turn on all notifications because apparently only 15% of you have done so, and that would really help out the channel.
W video. W video. W video.